All right, polls are open, and what do we need to know about today's election?
Yeah, so Paul, about 30 counties around the state have elections today, be it school
Mm-hmm.
board or sheriff there in Hinds County. We've got two legislative seats, I believe, that are up today in the state Senate. And so if you haven't talked to your circuit clerk already, make sure you call them to see if you have that election in your county, in your district. So you can go vote today. But as you mentioned, the polls are open. They'll be open until 7 p.m. And obviously, if you're in line by 7 p.m., you'll be allowed to vote. But these are some important elections. You talk about the sheriff there in Hinds
Yeah.
County. You talk about some legislative seats and school boards. So it's very important to get out and vote today.
I had a little conversation on texting back and forth with our mutual friend, Mark Baker, who is no longer in the legislature. And Mark was a little upset at me.
Loosely use that term.
for really concentrating a lot on school boards and how important that is. He was angry at me for apparently making a point that school boards need to be changed or corrected. And I thought about this after the last little bit of give and take, and I said maybe he has a point there. And I do need to make it clear that in Mississippi we don't have that problem for the most part. We have very few people complaining about school boards. Now, there's always some animosity. I've served on a school board before, so there's always some animosity. But it's nowhere near where it is in Loudoun County, Virginia, that could change the entire force of this election. I think he is up. Youngkin is up this morning. I saw some new polls. He's up 15% with parents who have kids in schools. So, I mean, it was that important. My point is this. Even though we don't have that problem like they have there for the most part across the state of Mississippi, for the most part, it doesn't negate the fact that parents need to get involved in the school boards. They need to find out who the school board member is. They need to either run or make darn sure they vote. So your thoughts?
That's exactly right. And a couple of ways to look at that. Number one, are enough parents engaged in the school board meetings here in Mississippi? Now, I agree with you. We've got a lot of good folks that are on the school boards around our state. But when you talk about critical race theory, one of the things that I know that Dr. Wright said, I guess about a month or so ago now, is there is no critical race theory in Mississippi schools. Well, that's a lie.
She said it on the air with me.
When you have folks, that's right. So when you have folks that are going to these school board meetings around the state and getting engaged, you learn the facts, you learn the truth, and then we can refute when folks come out and say, well, it's just not here.
Well, every parent needs to go through the school books and find out what some of the classroom material and just stay aware of what is going on in their particular school, regardless of where that school happens to be. So polls open at 7 o'clock, of course, close at 7 p.m. tonight. These people will take, as far as the legislature, they will, the three members will be sworn in and they'll be duly seated by the time the special session hits. Will it happen then, or will they have to wait until the regular session?
Now, when you say special session hits, is that an if the special session hits?
Well, yeah, that's an if and or. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I mean, right now, according to what the governor said yesterday in a press conference, that he wanted to make sure things were right, and there were some things specifically that he still had problems with, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it may not happen until January.
And I remember, Paul, there were some quotes out there that said basically, look, when the House and Senate can agree, send me the bill and we'll call a special session. Well, I believe they agreed last I heard. And so now what I'm hearing a lot of times, especially on your show and some others, where some legislators have said, look, if he didn't call a special session, we'll shoot it over to him the first week of January. He can do with it what he wants.
Well, and he loses some control there, but we'll see exactly what happens. All right, anything else we need to know about this election?
No, look, just get out and vote, Paul. Very important, especially these local level elections. These are the elections that can impact your lives the quickest. And so making sure that you've got the right school board member, you've got the right sheriff, you've got the right supervisor, whatever the office is. We'll be around the state today. I'm in Tupelo this morning, about to get out and see some precincts, traveling down east side of the state today. And we'll be looking at precincts, making sure that Mississippians see an active Secretary of State, where the precincts are following the rules and following the law so people can return that confidence in the system.
If they see something that is askew, sir, do they call you, or what do they do?
Yes, so we've got a hotline that folks can call. I'm looking up that number right now. as we are on the phone. So we definitely want them to call our hotline at the Secretary of State's office. You could also talk to, obviously, your local folks, your district attorney there, the Attorney General's office, the Circuit Clerk's office. But we've got a hotline number at 601-576-2550 or 1-800-829-6786. So
And
please
Michael,
reach out to us.
Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead, Paul.
I'm sorry. The next election is going to be
You're good. Your turn.
The next election is going to be what, March or June? Is it March or is it June of next year?
So we got the primary. I believe the primary is in June next year.
June next year.
Double check that, and I'll get back to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much. Michael Watson, Mississippi Secretary of State. Thank you, Mike.